Welcome, welcome, everyone. Happy new moon. Is that such a thing? Celebrate the new moon. Dance your little heart out. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Arlene. How are you guys doing today? Norma?
How's it going, y'all? How's it going? It's you can see back here, in the direct backdrop, we made it to our new destination, and let me tell you, spectacular, spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's never a coincidence that we moved on a new moon. We've left Tulum and we've gone right down the coast. We're very close to Belize. And there's this little almost port town where cruise ships do come in, but they don't tend to come to this area. And it's like this, it feels like you've gone back in time. It's very quiet, it's very calm, the water's very beautiful. And we're like, oh, this is a good spot. This feels better than Tulum. Tulum was not our jam. As much as many spiritual people love to talk about it and rave about it, I was like, no, it feels a little too chaotic at the moment because everybody's trying to create something. So it's like, it's got this reverberation to it that just wasn't in resonance with where we're at. So, hello, Cross. Hello, Tango. Hello, hello, Trish. How are you? Hello, Molson. Hello, JM. How are you guys doing? Can you go and grab either sticky notes or pen and paper? Hello, Mel. Yes. Hello, Sharon. Hi, lovely ladies. Hi, Andrea. Super glad you guys are here. Want you to go and grab a pen and paper, and then we're going to get into a little bit of a conversation around this. And Norma, do you recall what you posted earlier in regards to Capricorn for this new moon?
Yeah, the new moon is in Capricorn right now. So basically, what we're doing is it's speaking into understanding that for every new moon there is a new beginning. Given what sign it's in determines as to the level of what the new beginning may represent for you or for anyone else. It just depends on the date of birth in the horoscope and all that, you understanding as much as you can about your astrology, understanding the significance and the importance of that. So a lot of this is just where these new moons, what they do is they reflect to us and bring out emotions or feelings that brings about that chance and opportunity to see the things that we may not have either have seen, may not have fully reflected upon, that may still be sitting that's in a little bit of a deeper seated position or place within yourself. And to know that this just gives us a chance and opportunity to rebirth, so to speak, where when we're able to reflect or look at past experiences and be able to just have that position where we can sit and have no judgment of that remembrance, and understanding that without the lack of judgment, then what we do is we become ultimately an observer. And through that observation, when we're not just seeing it from just the perspective we were seeing it at the time, given who we were then, what we're doing is we're able to be given the ability to see the whole picture, to be able to see that the other individual that might have been playing a role, or the circumstances or situation or the environment that you were given at that time, what's going to happen is given who you are now, this gives you a chance and opportunity to change your perspective about that situation, where this is where ultimately, when you understand time travel, when we go back to a memory, we're going back to the past, we're traveling back in time to have this recollection of the understanding of a situation that really left an impression upon us, literally, to a degree where when we had an emotional reaction, what happened was it deep seated itself within a certain particular organ within the body, given what that time was, where things were in your in the astrological time and movement and cosmos at the time. So this is where you begin to gain a more in-depth knowledge and understanding that astrology, but basically genealogy, plays a huge role in understanding a lot of what we're facing here in the now times, since the energies are so much more up leveling. There's so much more of a higher frequency that's given us a chance and opportunity as human beings to be able to reflect on the things that, at the time we can only respond or react in the way that we were taught was, possibly even at that time, the appropriate way. But in that regards of that is understanding that when we did that, because we were so um, uh, depressed, so to speak, or repressed in being able to express. What happened was because we weren't allowed to express, we took and we held it, and we put it in one of our organs. And when we did that, then what happens is it sat there. And now at this point, what's happening is coming back up to help you to understand that, hey, this was stuck in your liver, so to speak. So let's take a look at this and let's see if you can see this from a different perspective now. So that way you can do what you need to do to be able to see this from a higher perspective, from a whole picture, and be able to alter your understanding of that experience. So that way you can release this, so that way you open up to be able to replace what you released with something so much grander and so much greater.
Beautifully put. And I've been speaking to this a bit lately, and that was awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Norma around what she just said? So if you need some clarification, right? Probably what caused my heart attack at 63, said Cross says. Absolutely. We never knew, right? But we're coming into this knowledge, which gives us this power to be able to choose to release, let go, and move forward. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon says, my nervous system is reprogramming with your help and space you hold. And I'll always say this. I am not here to fix you. It's up to you to get the tools. And all we're doing is giving you the tools, holding the space, reflecting back to you. Because if we heal you, for example, oh, I can do that. I can fix that. I can help with that. And I can. What happens in a week? Because you didn't hold the resonance yourself. So, yeah. Beautiful, Trish. Wonderful. Absolutely. And so the reason we want to just like get together a bit tonight is because I keep going, the moon's way more important than we're giving it credit for now, especially that I feel it's the true moon that's back, right? We've been seeing different sides of it. We've been seeing like there's a lot that's changed around the moon. And so with some attention and intention, we can take this cycle and realize that the moon affects us because it's got this push and pull, right? Are you able to speak freely in regards to the sun and the moon being disconnected from the? Is that something you can easily drop into?
It depends on. Are you wanting me to speak to understanding that time period of when they're in in between?
Yeah.
Okay, so to speak, as you can see right now, we're kind of like, and this is where the 3 degrees of, and that just leaves my mind so easily sometimes.
3 degrees of separation.
Right. This is where the 3, thank you. This is where the 3 degrees of separation comes in. Okay. So in the way that I can explain it is, for the most part, when you understand math, which is my at, and you understand cycles and astrology and stuff, when you begin to understand that all there is 0 through 9. Okay. And then everything repeats after that. And it all comes down to everything will play into that 0 through 9 numerology. And what happens is when you look at the clock, and this was just something I came into, I guess, a couple of months ago, that it helped me to understand where those 3 degrees of separation comes in at. Okay. But what happens is we were given the 10, 11, 12. And the purpose and reason for this is because we were given that 3 degrees of separation by having the adage of the 10, 11, 12 added to our clock. Because what that does is it gives us about basically 3 hours in the evening where the sun is, so what they speak to as setting, but it's not. When you understand, the sun never sets. What happens is the sun it does its cycle. But at the same time, you have the moon that's presenting itself because the moon reflects the sun. So this is usually between, the 3 hours, depending on what region or area that you're in this world. And since we are starting to come back into where we're getting longer days slowly since December 23rd through the 25th. Okay. And that's your 3 days of separation, 3 days of degrees, 3 days of where basically the sun itself, so to speak, is taking its time to reset itself. Okay. So all this is reflective of who we are, of what this body, this vessel in which we're traversing this world in, is speaking to. So when you have the setting time, this is a time of a time where you don't just have basically a one portal that's open. Okay, you have basically a womb of a double portion of portal that is presenting itself, where you're able to sit and reflect. And in that reflection, what happens is when you're in your heart, that it's almost like you're opening up those portals within yourself to reflect on the things that your mind may bring to the surface. Your emotions may be bringing in, saying, "Hey, this is the emotion," which only means no motion, that you need to see, so you may understand it and see it from that higher perspective, and say, "Hey, let's look at this from where you are now, and let's see what you see that you couldn't see then, given what you were taught." So, and then in the mornings, it's usually between 3:30 and 6:30, that this is a time where you talk about, I've seen a lot of y'all still talk about that you're waking up between those time periods. And what's happening is this is the next transition of that 3 degrees of separation, but it's not really separation if you really think about it. But what it's doing is reflecting any separation you may have within yourself. Okay. So it's the 3 degrees of the separation that brings the three together, which gives you the emotion or the feeling or the memory to reflect upon, so that you can bring the three together to become the one, become whole, in order to understand things from that higher perspective. Sorry, I'm going a little fast here. So that's where, if you're waking up in the mornings, what's happening is your body is being triggered by the frequencies that are of the now times, where there are higher frequencies that are going on, and it's almost amplified, so to speak, in the evenings and in that early morning hours, because this is when the sun and the moon meet. Okay. So they become those opposites, yet they are one with one another, because they know they serve a purpose with each other. And that's their time to greet one another, so they still remember what they are, who they are, what they represent. And seeing that, then you've got the chance and opportunity, like I said, to be able to just sit and reflect on any past memories that may come up, to be able to see them from a different perspective, and understand that everything is so much more than we ever thought it was. In that ability, we raise our vibration and frequency by seeing it differently, because we change our past in order to provide a better future.
Okay, and so the purpose of that was to realize that this is this is galactic. This whole universe is operating on a clock, and we go around and around, and there's certain points that are really important. And so as we go into this and bridge and learn more about us and that reflection, and that was really beautifully said. There's a lot more to that, and we will expand on that as well as we move forward. I just wanted to say there's a few questions around. So there's different astrology readings. Tropical. So, for example, via tropical, I'm a Leo. Via sidereal or Ayurvedic astrology, which is what's happening in the sky, and there's a few people online actually starting to bridge those, and I'm like, "Oh, I like that." And so I will share that post, because I was like, that makes so much sense, because you know, we're always bridging things. So don't say I'm this or I'm that. I'm some of this and I'm some of that, and depending on this, you're right. We're all mutts, so to speak. Made up of all these little pieces. And so when we attach to one thing, we forget about the whole. And so the goal is to remember that. I do know in Canada, you guys are talking about the birth certificate. You can order a long birth certificate, which will give you the time. You can in the US too, right?
Yes, it's called a long form birth certificate. You should be able to. Um, I'm trying to remember where you receive it at, but I can't. Off the top
That's
of my
okay.
mind.
Wherever you order,
But
it's it's Statistics Canada in my case.
yeah, just type in long form birth
Yeah,
certificate,
yeah.
and then
So you can order the form and it'll have your birth time because it has been recorded.
has to
Remember,
be.
everything's been recorded.
That's the bridge.
Right? And so what we want to do tonight is just give you some tools for this new moon. For me, a new moon is new beginnings. Going through and then went through last week and a little more chaotic energy and clearing and clearing, and we're not clearing for us. We're clearing for where we're at. And that's even when we drove May to the airport was like this big loop that we did and it was like, oh, there's yep, feel that? We both had to go and lie down because we can feel that we're like working on this. And of course, when you drive for that long, you're like, I need a nap, need a reset. So don't be afraid to give yourself a reset ever. It is your birthright to be able to reset yourself. Absolutely. And so, yes, Tango, thank you for the reminder. Everyone, please thumbs up, likes, loves, and put a comment after the video because it really helps with the algorithm. So whatever platform you're watching on, we really appreciate that. I started my new moon with a Reiki session. Beautiful, Angela. That's great. Yeah, yeah. Look into that long form because that'll make a difference. So the mission for today, whether you have a notepad and you can put it onto sticky notes later, the full moon, we want to release what no longer serves us and spend those couple weeks before the new moon and then reset and claim what you do want. Now, I do this mostly every day anyway, but there's some extra attention at this time. And some of the real extra attention is we are right in between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. This is the new moon that's dropped right in there. And it's like, oh yeah, this one's important because it's a real turning point. Now we're going towards spring in a new way. And so no matter what's going on externally, no matter what's happening in the world, what can you focus on? What can you control? What can you claim, master to manifest in your life now? Because whenever we write these notes out, we really want to write them out, put them on sticky notes, and put them on the wall. So I'll use an example, and it's a really broad one, but abundance is my birthright. I'm abundant in every way. What's something you'd like to share as a example statement?
You know, probably probably the greatest one I can give you is that you have the right to express yourself.
Yes.
But the individual you have the right to express yourself to first is you. Never deny yourself a chance and opportunity to express how you're feeling because every morning, every day, every evening, who faces you the most? You. And when we get the chance and opportunity to express ourselves, whether it's one of those we just make this choice to you see a mud puddle and you're like, you know what? I want to go jump in that mud puddle. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I want to know how it feels. I want to know what it feels like. I've never done it before. Never gave myself a chance and opportunity to do it when I was a kid. Let's go do this. Who cares? And what you're doing is you're giving yourself a chance and opportunity to see who you are. Never lack giving yourself the chance and opportunity to express yourself. Don't deny yourself any longer to be able to express yourself. Understand this is for you. It doesn't matter about anybody else. Because once you begin to express yourself to self, then what you're doing is you're bridging the higher aspect of self with the vessel, because the vessel only wants to have that experience with you as well, because it just wants to have the experience here in the manifest, here in the tangible. That's what this is for. So my greatest contribution to this whole information that we're giving you on this new moon is express yourself and do it in a way, yeah, do it in a way that you may recognize that you never had to hold back to begin with. Because, people want to think what they think whether you're being what you think that you should be to them, whether you are or not being what you think that you should be to them. So at this point, it's not. I'm going to say that don't care. What I'm saying is excuse me, be you. See who you are with you. And when you begin to do that, you'll be so surprised at how much more just relaxed and how much more fun, how much more you'll begin to tap into those parts of yourself that was like you felt you always wanted to be and express and yet never did because society might not be able to accept that. This is a time for you now. Society will either accept or it won't. Here's the thing. The greatest part about expressing yourself is a chance and opportunity to be able to show society what it's ultimately like to truly be oneself and express that and never care what anyone thinks, because at this point in time, once all that begins to change, most people are going to change in a place where when they see that, they're going to honor it and they're going to recognize it and they're going to want to know more about it, because then they'll see the authenticity of you.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful share. Molson says, yeah. And that's perfect. Sorry, I was giggling the whole time she was talking because I'm like, you said do something new and fuck what everybody else thinks about. And so there's Tanya going, oh, I can put myrrh in my mouth. I can put myrrh resin in my mouth. I put it in my mouth. And Jade's on the couch and he's like, what did you just put in your mouth? It's like a reverse role. It's like, well, it says you can eat it, but it doesn't taste very good. So, yeah, it's my experience, right? I can't help it.
She's definitely fun to be around, trust me.
You can talk about that one.
Look, it's like
Oh.
sometimes, it's one of those situations when you're doing, you're going, you just, and then all of a sudden, of course, the body's like, okay, I need to pee. So we're about 2.5 hours into our drive. We still got at least about another 45 minutes before we arrive here. Okay. So we're going through this small little town. As we're going through this little town, I'm in the passenger seat. She's driving. And we're trying to find a place to be able to pee. Now, mind you, in Mexico, when you have a long drive, you're lucky to be able to hit those places where there's a place to be able to stop and do this. Okay.
There's no gas stations.
So we're going through this little town. We're like, is there a restroom here and this, that, and the other? And we're both happen to be looking over here. Well, the thing about Mexico, man, let me tell you, you think America's got bumps? Go to Mexico. These things are like enormous. If you get the chance to, even if you get to see them, okay. And what they're called here are topes, topes. I think TOPE is what they're called. And it has these 3 little humps. But if you're not paying attention, if you're not paying attention, I'm telling you, this is Dukes of Hazzard moment. And every car that we've rented since we've gotten here or we've had exchange, she's put to the test with these topes. So we're going through and like I'm looking off to the side over here and she looks back. She's like, oh, and I was like, oh shit. So we got to jump a taupe again today. So that's been our, I'm telling you, this one right here is like, she's so much fun. She really is. And it's like, it's always about, the great thing about this connection is like we're always laughing either at ourselves or at what one of another's doing, because it's like she has her moments of things that she does and I have my moments. Trust me, I walked into the screen today, so I mean it's just
I caught it.
She caught it just in time to be able to see that. So
and then I almost did it too. Sorry, I'm laughing so hard because not only that with these bloody bump things, and so here's a good energy release on a new moon. But Jane, Mom, I have PTSD over the bumps. Like seriously.
poor Jade.
They're not that bad. So today when it happened,
I'm driving.
and I'm like, oh, good, Jade's sleeping. And then I go over the bump. Jade's not sleeping anymore. I'm getting the hairy eyeball. All right. Okay. All right. This is for you guys. We got to get back on track. Thank you for allowing us to giggle incessantly. And we hope you giggled too with us because it is part of the journey to be able to laugh, to be able to laugh at yourself. Oh my gosh, I did that again. And so here comes the next portion of this. Not only do I want you to take some time and I want you to write them down. So Molson's one, I receive checks in the mail every week. I've been doing it for a few weeks now and it's starting to happen. I want you to cultivate that. So what is your biggest pain point? And if it's anxiety, oh, my life is always calm and peaceful. My life is always calm and peaceful. So I want the opposite of what you've been doing, right? Affirmations. So whenever yeah, I'm glad you guys are all laughing. That's awesome. Yeah, it was really funny. Only because I thought we were over the bumps and then it happened again. I was like, oh no. So not only that, to write down every day a couple sentences in a journal along with where the moon is at. So is the moon a quarter? Is the moon a half? So we can start to track what is happening for us around that. Because without tracking it, you don't know how far you've come. And you also can't see the pattern you have each year based on where the moon is at any given time.
Yes, it's definitely good to be able to utilize the moon in order to be able to understand your temperament, so to speak, because the moon does have that ebb and flow. It does have its effect on the oceans and how the waves move in and out, how the tide rises and how it falls. And when we begin to understand that, the moon just only plays a direct role in um, our understanding of self, do we begin to really recognize how it has its effect on us? Because it's not as much as it is the higher aspect of who we are. It's its effect on us with this vessel, because it's the vessel that it affects. And when you begin to understand the importance of the understanding of the organs, what they represent, what they do, what's their function, what is it that I must imply or employ to know if these organs are functioning properly, if they're functioning at high capacity, if they're functioning at mid capacity, if they're functioning at low capacity. And on that comes so many varying degrees as to the purpose or reason why they may not be fully functioning at a great capacity. And that comes from emotion, it comes from our foods, it comes from our environment. So there's so much to this. But what's most important is understanding that when you begin to move that energy out, even if you're just moving the energy, then what you're doing is you're beginning to release a lot of the tension that may be in that organ, because then you have kind of energetically unblocked that organ, which helps the chakra that organ is sitting with to function in a higher capacity and begin to restructure itself to that original blueprint and begin to work through you and raise your vibration to help you recognize and understand more and more about who you are, what you can face, the strength, the integrity, the morals, the values, in understanding your currency. Because as you clear this out and you clear the emotions out, then what you're doing is you're also raising and rising the currency in the value of the individual that you are.
Absolutely. And if you cannot laugh at yourself, right, you can't laugh at others. It's only because we can both laugh so much at ourselves, right? And the things we do or the things we trip up or the things we repeat. And it's like, oh, I did it again. It just is, right? And so Molson's asking a good question. Will you explain that more? Write down what along with the moon location. So every day I want you to write down, how am I feeling today? And I recommend you have a morning routine. Take those few minutes for yourself. So there's like 5 things. 1, wake up and be grateful. You've got a new day ahead of you. Thank you, body, for that restful night. Even if you didn't sleep well, I don't care, right? But do track, how did you sleep last night? That's number 2. How do I feel this morning? Is there a dream I need to remember? Right? There's probably like 7 or 8. Where is the moon at right now? Do the moon chart. Check in with yourself how you feel, check in how you slept, check in with the body, run white light through your body. Just imagine white light going through your body up and down, almost. Vicky has a really good way of explaining that, and that's a hula hoop. And I love that explanation. It goes from the sun down to the center of the earth and back up again. And in that is white light. So it's like you're in your own channel, right? And so by utilizing that in itself, you're waking your body up in a specific way. And smile, even if you don't feel like smiling. Oh, awesome. We have a full day ahead of us. I wonder what magic might happen today. I wonder what magic might happen today. Think about that. Okay. And then the other one is a basic hermetic principle of being quiet for 5 minutes and set a timer. And we're talking about just listening to, not listening, observing, being the observer of your thoughts for 5 minutes. Put a timer on so you're not checking the clock every second to see where it's at. And so you just close your eyes and just observe them. Don't attach to them, just observe them. And when you come out of that, I want you to write down what your main thoughts are. What are the thoughts you want to change? What are the thoughts that maybe was intuition that you don't really know it was intuition until maybe later? You can ask messages before you go to bed, and then did you get one in the morning? Yeah. So there's many things we can do. So this new moon isn't just about setting new intentions. Let's start about setting new habits, because these small little increments every day will change. And so this 5 minutes, add a minute every day. Add a minute every day, right? Until you hit 20.
Yeah, no need to. There's no need. Once you hit that 20-minute mark, you're pretty much doing beautifully. But to be able to sit down and do it for 5 minutes is definitely one of those that when you begin at 5 minutes, that's one of those where it's not too long, but it's not too short. And so that way, what you're doing is you're beginning to allow yourself to become more and more aware of self. That's what the exercises are for, is about understanding self, understanding where you are, understanding more about yourself, what your thoughts are, if they're important, if they're things that you recognize you may need to change. And then by adding that minute, what happens is over time, as you begin to write this down and you recognize those things, then what happens is you continue on this in time. Basically, within 10 days, you want to be able to have it anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. And you'll begin to realize and recognize those thoughts will begin to slow down, because what's happening is you're becoming more aware of them. And then what happens is over time, you'll recognize them immediately and say, that's not what I want. That's not what I want to think. Yeah, control, alt, delete. So this is more about that awareness level, so to speak, for you to just have that intention, that focus of that intention, whether it's a meditative state or you're just sitting there, you're just being quiet.
Right. And you can set some intentions for that meditation point. You can run your thought and focus on the body. You can focus on your breath. You could just do alms for those times, right? Whatever you're called to do, and you will know. If you need to express, then go ahead and express in a way. And Eddie, you got to drink a hell of a lot more water than you're drinking. That's the big message I'm getting for you. Of course, you have a headache. You're dehydrated. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's 42 degrees Celsius was freaking hot to work in for 8 hours. Yeah. Take a break, get in the shade, breathe. Right? Do a reset. Absolutely. I'm glad you're feeling better. Absolutely. Remember to like and thumbs up these videos and comment afterwards if they were helpful. Yeah. And Andrew's got a good point. Maybe I should go to bed at the same time every night. Maybe that would be beneficial for you. And there's a lot of people waking up in the middle of the night. Remember, that's when the veil is the thinnest. Therefore, that means you're going to have more messaging coming in. It's also when the sun and the moon are at that point. So we're going to remind you again, you've got this. Anytime you feel, and anxiety is our Sunday topic, by the way, and we're Friday now. So if you know anybody with anxiety, we're going to run through an hour of tools and tips just around that. Okay. Because there's a lot of people feeling that right now. And that's, it's an emotion. It's a trapped emotion for most. And so that movement and how can we get that movement going is highly critical. And so we just really want you guys to focus on that. So again, let's repeat what we've reviewed so far. One, yes, it's a new moon. It's a beautiful new moon because it's bridging between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. I thought I had backwards for a second. And so I'm recommending everyone start to consider and look up a moon calendar and utilize that moon calendar for making just a few minutes of notes each day. So you can really start to track where you need to work on. Because what you may find is as you go through a month, there's some really habitual things that happen depending on where the moon is at. Could affect your eating habits, could affect your sleeping habits. So once you see a pattern, you can start to work on that pattern. Without tracking the pattern, you're kind of flailing along like a fish out of water, not knowing where you're going or how to help manage it. So, yeah, absolutely. And so I can tend to sleeping at midnight when tired, very unusual for me. Sleeping at midnight. Hmm. Yeah, interesting, right? I know that sometimes I drop off to sleep and in an hour I'm awake again. It's like, huh? No. Control Alt Delete. So it's really mastering control over the body, control over the emotions. And so as we go into this new moon, I really want you to write out, what do you want? Put them up on sticky notes, write it on the mirror, and every time you go by it, stop, read it, and then feel it as if it's already happened. You don't have to know the how. You just have to know that's how you feel, whether it's abundance, whether it's health related, whether it's for somebody else. Ho'oponopono is a beautiful prayer for that. I'll gotta get that one posted out again because there's a few people that need it, right? And so then we can start to focus on what we do want and start to eliminate that which we don't want. And so it's nobody's fault. We are master manifestors and we're mastering how to manifest. It's nobody's fault that this is where we are. It is just part of the programming. And as we were discussing earlier, in this realm where free will has been allowed to be, it's been taken very dark. It's gone way down into a hole, way, way down. And what is the opposite of that? So once you've suffered so deeply, you have no choice but to go up. So the lower you go, the higher you get to go. I'm going to add to that, please.
Yeah. So I mean, for everything that must go up, must come down.
Yes.
But given how we go through this process and understanding that process at a depthness that, when we come here, when we first come here, and like I said, we've all probably lived many lives just through different forms, vessels. Okay. But as we come here, what happens is the further away you venture from your center, the darker times become. And this is just a journey. It's a journey of the soul. It's a journey of the mind. And it's a journey to understand how far away from your center can you go and understand that even though you can go so far to the depths of the things that you may have thought you would never be, never do, never enact, doesn't mean that just because you did makes you bad. There's no such thing. There's no good and bad. There are choices, and in those choices, there are lessons. That's where one of the 7 principles comes in at, and that's the oh crap. Of course, I try to remember it. The cause and effect. The cause and effect law and principle is the most profound. But even in that cause and effect, the rest of the laws are what makes up the understanding of the cause and effect law. And when you come to understand that we're just here, every single one of us are here to experience self, experience what we are capable of on any level and on any extreme, and understanding that no matter what you may feel is the greatest deafness you can get to before you finally hit that floor. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a floor, which means there's no further to go. Okay. And to be able to even fathom that idea of how deep that could be, it doesn't matter. What matters is that to know that eventually there will be that moment and there will be that time that as a soul, you will begin to choose to start to get back up and go back up, because this is a part of the process, every single bit of it, even to the greatest atrocities of the things we may not be able to swallow, understand, or fathom. And believe me, I've sat with this so many nights for so long to understand that this is a life to be experienced. This is a life where we come into duality to understand the contrast between being able to be here in the manifest and understanding the higher aspects of self. Okay. And that's the reason why things like Plato's cave comes into play. The further back in the cave you are, the less light you see. But at some point in time, even you're going to come out from even just the darkest and most deepest part of that cave, because somehow, some way, that light will make its way to you. It will reflect upon a wall. It will reflect off of some another that may be there, but somehow, some way, somebody's shadow is going to reflect that light, and you're going to notice it. Okay, we all will. We all do. It just we just don't know where everyone else is at. But being in given where you are here right now, listening to what we're speaking to, that tells you where you are. That tells you where you are in your heart. That tells you exactly where you are as far as where the vessel's concerned. So this is where, as much as it's hard to understand, this is where we must lack in having judgment about anyone or anything or any circumstance, and just see it fully and recognize it for what it is, where it's at, what it's about, and what it's showing us as a collective, where the collective is in their way of perspective and perception and thoughts.
Beautifully said. Okay, I just want to run through a few things on the chat here, and then we're going to start to button up. So, and I'll repeat everything again one more time. You're welcome, Rebecca. Yeah. Yeah, Sharon, it's time for you to go up. Absolutely. If we're worried at bedtime, so Andrea, I want to speak to this because if you're stressed when you're going to bed, it's not going to help you to sleep. Write down everything you're worried about and literally make a date in your calendar. So, say it's Sunday night and you're like, I got this all on my mind about work, about the kids, about whatever's going on for you. I want you to write it all down, make a date for Wednesday or make a date for Friday to go over those worries again. And when you go over those worries again, I want you to notice how many of those came to be true. Because what you worry about, you bring about. But if you can write it down and let it go and then come around to it, you'll realize, the fudge was I worried? That's totally out of my control. I can't control that. So, what can you control? What is in your control? What do you choose to control? You can really only control you. Now, if you're a parent raising a child, you absolutely want to make sure you support them the best you can, but you don't want to control them. You don't want to be on top of them, because what you're going to get is rebellion then eventually. Okay. The other comment coming up, um, Yes, Eddie, I don't think you were a crazy monkey in a previous life. But that's cute. And yeah, drinking hot tea. So load when you're going, know you're working in hot weather all day, or you're going to be in the hot sun, load water in the morning. I did tons of rock climbing. You load water hard before you start because then your body can use it up and you don't get as worn out as quickly. Yeah, absolutely. And then there was another question. Oh, Dookie, yes. So Ho'oponopono prayer is basically no, it's not basic because it's beautiful. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Now, what you want to focus on is any situation going on in your life, whether it be for you or somebody else. And that's just a really, 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 really beautiful way of hmm, alchemizing energy around a situation. And when you alchemize your energy and you forgive yourself for past events that are out of your control that don't matter anymore anyway, but are still trapped within your body, and you have this memory come up, you can utilize that prayer for that event. You can also look at that inner child from the observer's point of view. So you're not reliving the trauma or reliving the experience, but you're now observing it. And now you can observe it in a neutral position where, oh, that person's only behaving because of the way they were raised and they were brought up and their beliefs and their systems. Oh, and we're okay now. We made it till here. So we can now let this go. Let's release this trauma from the body. Okay, we'll go through more of that on Sunday. So, again, let's wrap this one up because I know a lot of you are waiting to see Dave. So, don't want to hold you up. Super excited for him and for all of you. You're going to journal around the moon. And on this new moon, you're going to write out a list of what you do want based on what those things that you're focused on that you don't want. You're going to write the opposite out. And you're going to put them on sticky notes and you're going to put them around the house. And every time you go in front of them, you're going to stop, you're going to read it, and then feel it as if it has already happened. And you're not going to focus on the how. Okay. The other thing is to track in the morning, to take the time before you jump out of bed, grab your device, be on the phone, take the time to say, oh, I'm just waking up. It's a beautiful in between space. And thank you, body. Thank you for providing what you do for me. Thank you for allowing a deep rest. And then I want you to run white light through your body. And before you get too excited about doing, try just being a bit. Put your alarm for 5 minutes and observe your thoughts and then write those thoughts down. Because when we start to track how we're feeling, what's going on for us, we have something to work on to change or to elevate. Oh, it was a really good day. Why was it a good day? What happened that day? Or what happened that sleep? Or what happened in that dream? Because quite often, and I know for myself, I can be so very present that everything else goes out of my total experience. I'm like, I need to start doing this because in that being in the now moment, I'm forgetting that I need, no, I'm not forgetting, I'm being present, which is beautiful. But I would like to be able, in order to help others to, and help myself further, be able to document a bit more. So, yeah, absolutely. Oh, Eddie's commenting just to add what Norma said about organs, eat what the organs look like, walnuts for brain food.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, anything that reflects an organ, like walnuts, it looks like the brain. You know, like we said, anything that's outside us reflects um, who we are or what's within us. So yes, definitely, definitely, yes. In being able to understand herbs and minerals and things like that, to know what's good for what organ and knowing the proper amount, because what may be good for an organ, a particular organ, might affect another. And understanding that there must be, those rational levels, or those portions that you take in where you have the right amount, yet it's good for the organ that you're utilizing it for. But it doesn't affect another organ, so to speak. So that's the reason why it's good to understand, the organs and what represents the organs as far as where the planet and things like that are concerned. So that way, you have a general clue and idea as to what day of the week the organ is on, whether it's a bone
Yeah.
or it's the skin and things like that.
And that can be tracked as well. You can track. So this is eneology though, right? So taking a step further. So let's focus on the basics first around the moon and around how you're feeling. And then, yeah, we can start. There's a whole course we're creating right now on eneology, which is really beautiful. And some exciting news coming up because next week we have Alex and Dave joining the team. Yeah, which is very exciting. And there's a few more things in the works as we move forward. So we love you all. If you have any questions, put it in the Telegram chat. You'll always get, or in the video down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and make a comment after the video because it does help with the algorithm and we appreciate that. And enjoy this new moon. And how did you feel? Right? How does this make me feel? I know we came in, it felt like we went through a portal and came into another realm.
That's just about everywhere we go.
Well, that's everywhere we go. But today is exceptional because when we pulled up and my kid lit up and she lit up, I'm like, we're in a good spot.
I can made that when we got on that specific road that's heading this way.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So we're sending you lots of love. Have a beautiful night. Enjoy. And we'll see you on Sunday. Yes. Love you. Bye.